there are symbols in the story of Joseph that perfectly coincide with the history of our community. And we don't have the time today to go into all the details and all the specifics. But I would like to go into a few things so that you have understanding about how I interpret what I'm doing. And I use the references from the story of Joseph as inspiration and support. Inspiration and support of what I already know to have been Imam W. Muhammad's conviction, based upon the things that he told me, based upon the things that he said in public about me, based upon the fact that when complaints were brought to him about me, that he never said anything publicly that would make people think that his support was not with me, that every single thing that was said about how he saw me was said by others and not by him. People would say that the Imam is disappointed in Abdulmalik because of this situation with this legal situation with him. But they could never say that Imam W. Muhammad said such a thing. They said that he said. But what did he say? I asked Professor Shabazz in this document that they prepared, did they quote anything from Imam W. Muhammad? He said no. There's no quote from him. So just as the brothers of Joseph brought a charge against Joseph to him, and how do we know they brought a charge against him? Because they brought, the Holy Quran says, they brought his shirt, and that they stained his shirt with false blood. And they brought it as a charge. They said, this is him. And look at his guilt. This is what they did, Joseph's brothers. Here's him. His scent is on his shirt. And this shirt appears in other places in this story, the same shirt. So it's an indication of that they're talking about his devotions, his focus, his face, his interest, his commitment, all in the shirt. It's a symbol. And we see it again in his interactions with the public of the power structure. That he has a shirt and they rip the shirt. And it says that if the shirt is ripped from this way, then it's his fault. If the shirt is ripped from that way, it's this other person's or other entity's fault. The same shirt. And then again, we see it again, it's cast over the eyes of the Father, and the Father's eyes come clear. So we see the shirt. So here's a charge that they bring. And the father of Joseph, he says, I'm not satisfied with what you're telling me about him. And I choose patience over your deceptions. Meaning what? That one day, his expectation was that his vision, his focus for the life that he worked to establish in the public of the world as the reawakening, as I've said before, and as he said, of Prophet Muhammad's mission, that it would be restored, that it would be restored. Within the context of the very plot against what he had put in place to keep it strong. I hope you can follow what I'm saying. So the story goes on that Joseph is imprisoned by his brothers. They have the first prison. They corral him and put falsehood on him and try to convince his father that he's guilty and justify their actions of putting him in the well, which is a prison. And I can tell you of conversations from, I don't want to say the name of these people, but a wife of one of these leaders asked permission to come to the prison where I was to visit me. And I wasn't too quick to accept that person's interest. But I knew the person, and I thought that whatever it is that they wanted to say to me, that it was important. But I didn't answer that right away. It took me a minute, a little while. But I did ask them, told them that it was okay for them to come, and they came to visit me in prison. And while I was in prison, they gave me in great detail, a wife of one of these leaders, what they had said about me, what they had planned for me. And I don't know that I was surprised by it exactly, but then it began to make sense to me why I was having so many difficulties in the work that I was doing. I knew of jealousy. I had seen that before. I knew of envy and jealousy and backbiting, all of that. But what I didn't know was that they had conspired to make sure that I didn't have financial stability, that they would cut off streams of income. So if we can't stop what he's doing or check him in terms of his skill, we can't do anything about that. His ability, his faith, we can't do anything about that. But what we can do is slow him down so that he can't get to this place or that place, because we know that Imam W. Muhammad's office resources can't support his life. So let us do this. I heard it from one of the wives of one of them, former wives. So here is clear indication that they have made preparations for not just the present, but the future. And when I was arrested for mail fraud, the investigators who were associated with the intelligence apparatus of this country, when they questioned me, they asked me, what would this person and this person, names well known in our community, what would they say about you? Which was an indication to me that this is not about the United States government's case against you. This is about your own people. Well, I'm facing 20 years in prison. I'm not thinking about what Imam so-and-so, this Imam or that Imam thought about me. I'm not even understanding the context of it at that moment. I'm thinking about my children. I'm thinking about the ones who at tender ages that have no interaction with me, except for a few short years. I'm thinking about my parents. I'm thinking about what would be the condition of my family after 20 years? Not even my own condition. I'm not thinking about that. So I didn't see all of what these people are asking about. I wasn't putting it together at that moment. But after I was sentenced to 9 years, after getting over the initial shock of that, I began to think about it. And I began to think about the whole situation. And as I'm thinking about this and reviewing this in my mind, I'm being approached by persons outside of the prison, Muslims in the community, our community, and also Muslims in the prison. And they're attracted to me. And they're asking me about this matter and that matter. And I'm giving them the best responses that I can give at the time. And they're helped by it. I can see that they changed their mind about it. And the grip of a certain sensitivity and focus or emphasis in understanding Islam, understanding the Qur'an, and understanding Prophet Muhammad, that they have a certain focus and interest in the prison. And then they come into contact with me and their focus and interest begin to change. And I see it right before my eyes. Now, I'm not the imam or leading them in any way. They just coming to me, asking me about this and that. And I answer them. I answer them according to the influence of Imam W. Muhammad's teaching. And I see the change in them. Now, mind you, there's a chaplain who's from our community over this prison. And he treat me as distant. He treat me as distant as you would treat the most distant immigrant Muslim. But he's aware of my influence. And along this time, based on the questions coming from people outside, I say, well, you should look at this problem of extremism because this is what Imam W. Muhammad would be attending to right now. And so I settled myself on presenting something that would make our argument in our language, in our reasoning, to address the problem of extremism that is associated with Muslims in the world. I set myself on that task while I was in prison, and I wrote that book. And I remember having a conversation with my father, and I told him about it. He said, well, how are you going to do that? He said, how are you going to write a book while you're in prison? How is that possible? I just said, I don't know. I said, but got to make it happen. It's going to happen. It's important. Because I was looking at our community and I was not seeing what the leaders, that they had done enough to present our picture of this issue, our way of looking at the issue and our way of addressing the issue. I didn't see that they had done enough. And I couldn't excuse myself from the responsibility. Why? Because I had been sensitized all those years before, and all of this began to come to my mind. And I recognized that it is now necessary for me to establish Imam W.D. Muhammad's vision for Islamic life and community, and not see myself as being restricted in any way, even by the prison, that I must, in spite of these circumstances and this condition, respond to the need in the best spirit that was built upon the preparation that he had given me and the circumstances that has shaped me. And you all know about this book that I wrote. And after I wrote that book, and I got communication from the Muslim congressman from Indiana, and also from the President of the United States. Some of you all don't know that. President Barack Obama, while I was in prison. I said to myself, this is what this is about. This is just part of the preparation. And you have to do more. You have to say more. And you have to have courage that this is what Allah intended. And no matter what they say about you, no matter what they put out there to stop you, no matter what they concoct as a story to influence the people against you, stay to the task. No matter the pain, difficulty, hurt, stay to the task. So a lot of things happened while I was in prison. When the officials found out about the book I wrote, they put me in the solitary confinement. Say, we have to investigate you. And finally, they let me out after 90 days. And they moved me to another prison. And I stayed there for several years, and eventually I was released. But by that time, we had already begun our work in the public of the United States of America, and I had written another book in that period. We had our website, and we were actually doing some addresses from prison, which I thought were necessary to establish what would be happening after. And even while I was in prison, I said that based upon these activities and this sensitivity, that there is no leadership for our community in terms of leadership that would be approved by Imam W. Deen Mohammed except my leadership. And I said that if he were here, he would point to me in spite of the fact that I'm in prison, because the circumstances of my imprisonment are not what they have been presented to the world and to our people. That is much more to the story than what has been told. And after I was released from prison, after a year, I had communication, indirect communication with the person who prosecuted the case, of my case. And he sent word to me of apology on behalf of the United States Department of Justice, and said to me indirectly, you should not have done one day. Now, we are in this circumstances in this world as they are. And at no time prior to now has Imam W. Deen Mohammed's teaching been more important and valuable. At no time in the history of our community, from the time of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, has our community's spirit in terms of support and recognition of what leadership is been in such a decline. So it's not that we are on a desert or that we have a famine in real terms, as the Qur'an describes the situation for the brothers of Joseph. It's not a physical problem. It is a desert. It is a famine of understanding. It is a famine and desert of leadership. It is a famine and desert, an absence of proper focus and emphasis. The vision is obscured, diminished, and the brothers of Joseph are without leadership. They have lost the connection and the confidence of their father. And they're searching the world for it. And they come to Egypt, they come to an establishment asking for it. And the establishment presents them what? Joseph. And they don't recognize Joseph. They don't know that it's their brother. And he knows them. And they have come to a conclusion and an influence that has crippled them and crippled their life and crippled the life of the people that depend upon them. And Joseph sees their condition. And he wants first to save the innocent one among them. And so he appeals to that one. And he gets the attention of that one, takes that one to himself, and then operates on the rest. And finally, at the conclusion of the story, the vision is restored. The connection is restored. And in spite of all of the plots and difficulties that the brothers had put Joseph through, he embraces them and looks past their indiscretions and their plots and welcomes them into the life of the establishment. Now, I think that that is parallel to our story. And if you want to understand why they will never stop me, it's because of these influences that feed me. And at the conclusion of the story of Joseph in the Qur'an, it says, this is not falsehood. It is real. لقد كان في يوسف وإخواته آيات للسائلين. Certainly in Joseph and his brothers are signs for those who ask. So I thought this was a time now for me to share some things with you that were important and something that you could reference in your support of me, and in some cases, your defense of your support of me. And I'll conclude with this. You all in this class are familiar with, I think, the dream that I had while I was in prison. And in that dream, I saw two representations or persons saying that they were Mr. W.D. Farad. My first understanding of that was that one was an imposter, not the real one. And I said that in the dream. But after I thought about it, what I now understand is that the two Farads were not, one was not an imposter. One was another choice. And for me, it wasn't the true choice. And so therefore, an imposter. But for many, it was a choice. The true direction for Mr. Farah's influence was the one that Imam W. Mohammed chose. And that was the path toward the embrace of the Qur'an. The other one is the path that some persons may be thinking of themselves as members of the Nation of Islam chose, which for us is a false choice and a distraction. And when I look at that, I see it also in the context of what we're looking at now. Our people have a choice. And in their estimation, the choices are viable. But those who are sincere in their seeking and they're innocent, they know by their innocent sensitivities and the excellence, the demand for excellence in their humanity, what is the proper choice. And I'm not saying that the proper choice is Earl Abdulmalik Mohammed. I'm saying that the proper choice is the Qur'an, that the proper choice is Imam W. Mohammed, and that if you are determined to support that vision to its destiny, then you must follow and accept the one that was prepared to continue that task, the one that was specially prepared by circumstances with the support of scripture and also special preparations and pressures that were put on his life by the leader himself. It wasn't an easy burden for me to carry, being told by the leader in so many words, prepare yourself, because you will not be able to depend upon them. Prepare to stand alone. And in spite of that, know that Allah's mercy is with you for the completion of the task. And I'm a witness. So this is a picture of your leader. And I know some of you don't have the same strength as others. Some are stronger than others. But I say in the same words of Imam W. Mohammed when he became leader of the Nation of Islam. And I don't say it to the tens of thousands and the multitudes that he said it to. I say it to you, Benjamin. I say it to you, Benjamin. You are Benjamin. You are the special brother, recognized by Joseph and protected by Joseph for the salvation of the whole group. I say to you, put your hand in mine. And let us get to that place where we can invite and secure our renegade brothers.